Product is king. It needs to be a good product no matter how good your marketing is. If you're getting thousands, millions of people onto your app, but your app just isn't good, it doesn't solve a specific problem, there is a big problem here.
If you look at the more of the aggregate data, it's going to give you a better idea of actual performance as opposed to just making one post and saying, oh, that post didn't do well. You're going to need to see more of it because there's so many other variables like time of day that you're posting and all these different things that are just algorithmically related as opposed to just the quality of the content.
What's up, guys? Nick Grayson here. Today, we are going to be focusing on mastering organic marketing for mobile apps, strategies to grow your user base without paid ads. I'm joined today by my partner, Patrick.
Hey, guys.
So here's what we're covering today. So a little overview of this training module. What is organic marketing? Organic versus paid, understanding key principles of organic marketing, practical tips for actually implementing into your mobile app business, and then some practical examples that you can use to apply into your business. So let's dive right into it. So organic marketing strategies drive traffic and engagement without paid advertising. So it focuses on creating value and building relationships naturally or organically, right? So there's a lot of different methods you can use to grow your app without dumping a bunch of money into advertising, whether it be content, search marketing tactics, whether it's public relations, partnerships. There's a lot of things that go into it. Some of the key characteristics include being very cost effective and actually sustainable for the long term, building trust and credibility with your users so that they actually retain onto your app. What's better than more users that actually stick around for the long term and continue to stay on your subscription model or using your app, however you monetize, and being a long-term loyal customer. Often takes longer to see results compared to paid marketing. So this is one of the cons that we'll go over, right? With paid marketing, you're seeing results a lot sooner based on the nature of that marketing tactic, right? You're putting money, you're buying ad space on all these different websites, Google, on Facebook, TikTok, wherever you're running ads. It does cost money, but it gets you there a lot sooner. Where organic marketing, it takes longer to build up, but for the long term, it's always going to be there and it's something you continue to build upon for cheaper. So think about it by leveraging your time rather than dumping money into it right away. As I mentioned, some examples include content marketing, social media engagement, ASO, SEO, and also community building. And we'll go into more of those examples here in a second. And the importance, lower customer acquisition costs in the long term, as we just mentioned, creating that loyal user base and enhancing that brand reputation and visibility, right? You want to make sure that people actually know who you are and what your thing is and how it can help them, right? And the best way to do that is having a strong organic base, social media profiles, and your overall brand across all online platforms. So when you're starting a mobile app, a lot of people have different kinds of situations, right? You may have some money to put into it. You have a budget set aside after your development costs and your design costs. You have a marketing budget set aside. Some people are completely bootstrapped. Some people have funding. Some people have more money than others to be able to put into it. There's a lot of different types of personas of people that are starting these apps. And whichever one that you're in, you need to develop a strategy based on that available funding, right? So obviously, we usually recommend having some sort of paid ad strategy, especially in the beginning, only because you can learn very quickly and measure results to constantly inform not just your marketing strategy, but your product strategy. On the flip side, I'm not saying that organic is not important. It's extremely important because it builds a solid foundation for your business in the long term. So if you're someone that's bootstrapped, you don't have a lot of funding available, and you really need to develop a strategy that's going to be affordable for you, that also can push your app business in the right direction, then you're going to want to be looking at an organic strategy, which we'll be going into here in a sec.
Yeah, and I'd say a lot of people and a lot of our clients, they're using organic sometimes before they start working to us to validate things and just get an initial feel and pulse for the market to know if, this is something people are excited about and if they're going to be interested in installing and potentially even converting at that stage and just getting that early user feedback. But again, like Nick mentioned, paid is obviously a lot quicker. Organic is sometimes like less direct, I'd say. So you're kind of just promoting and not really directly going out for the ask of them installing or buying or signing up for a trial or whatever your main call to action is. Organic sometimes can just be less direct where you're creating content and promoting things using the organic channels that you have. Paid, you're obviously running ads that typically say and have a very clear next step and call to action of, hey, download this app right now. Hey, sign up for a free trial. So because of that, you get a lot more of those actions. Organic is a great place to start to get those early initial reactions from your market of how they perceive the product and the likelihood and cost that you're going to have for converting someone into one of those call to action steps.
100%. And that sets itself perfectly for this slide. talking about the difference between organic and paid marketing. So organic, as we've talked about, strategies that drive traffic and engagement without paying for ads. Some pros, they're very cost effective and sustainable for the long term. They build trust and relationships with your users for the long term and enhances your brand credibility to set a solid, strong brand foundation. Some cons, it's a little bit slower to see results and it requires consistent time and effort. You really have to have a solid strategy. A lot of people will make a great strategy and they'll do it for a couple weeks, but ultimately they realize that they don't have a proper plan to do it consistently for the long term, or they don't see results in the very beginning. So they get unmotivated and stop posting and creating content or optimizing your ASO presence or whatever that looks like. So it's very important to be consistent over time to actually see results.
And just real quick to mention as well, if you're coming here directly from the first module and kind of the intro that we did, you're going to see a little bit of a recap here. One of the reasons we wanted to cover this topic again of kind of the differences between these two is just that it's really important to understand, like Nick said earlier, when putting together your plan for promoting your app, depending on where you're at, depending on what your funding situation looks like and your cash flow, understanding these two different avenues and routes that you have, and understanding the values and the pros and cons and how you can sort of plug them into an overall strategy. It's really important to be able to put together the best plan. It's really important to know that to be able to put together the best plan. So like Nick mentioned, organic has a number of pros and a number of cons related to it. Typically, that's again just related to the speed at which you can execute on things. I mentioned in the last module some of the tracking issues that you have with organic. It's typically a lot harder. But on the paid marketing side, some of the pros are, again, that you have immediate results and it's very scalable. So if you have something that works with paid, typically once we get our clients to a point where things are profitable and we're getting the cost per trial starts or installs or whatever it is in the place that we need to know that we have profitability, then we're able to start to execute our strategies and methods to scale up accounts. And that can happen really quickly. So an account can go from, a business that's maybe just generating its first $5,000 or $10,000 a month in cash. We can see that double or triple in a very short period of time as we sort of start to scale up the ad spend. Sometimes there's a little bit of slippage there. As you scale, you get a little bit less profitable, but you can still typically increase the amount of ad spend and then see an increase in installs, downloads, and conversions as a result of that scales relatively linearly. Like I mentioned before, it's easier to track and measure. So that's a huge piece for once you're getting to that later stage when you are ready to invest and pay more. That's one of the advantages that you're going to be looking forward to. So you can get lessons a lot quicker. Really easy for us to test different marketing angles, different audiences and things like that, and have really clear, tangible data that we can use to make smart decisions and optimize things. And then the last one here is that you've got targeted reach to specific audiences. And so what that just means is that, each of these different platforms, like we went over, and I'm going to go over a lot more in the paid section, has its own pros and cons, just like there's pros and cons of organic versus paid. Each of the different platforms has its own pros and cons. So on Google, you're getting very high intent audiences. If someone's looking for a fitness app of a specific type or like a powerlifting app or something very specific, you can target keywords that are powerlifting fitness app. And that's going to take someone directly to that. They have a very high intent and you know that they're likely to want to install. And by the same nature, if you target specific audiences on Facebook, people that are watching powerlifting videos or are interested in powerlifting gear or something like that, then it's going to put you in front of the right people. And so the paid channels, they give you this ability to very laser focus into the people that you want to target and tap into those audiences, which tends to, give you the ability to get the right users at a rapid rate and at a good cost. Organic is a little bit more scattershot because you're promoting content. But again, the huge pro there and how we want you to start to think about this when you're putting together your plan for your app on how you're going to get through the different stages of scaling is thinking about the pros and cons of each of these and what ratio you're going to put them in. Long term, we recommend having always some combination because like Nick mentioned, organic can be, especially at scale, sort of the branding side of things. So you have these presences on these different platforms that are developing relationships with customers long term and establishing a presence. That's what you see a lot of big brands have organic social accounts that they maintain, even if they're not directly using them to try to acquire users like you might early stage. It's still something you want to have in some ratio throughout the entire process of scaling up your business and helping grow it. So those are some of the pros of paid marketing. Some of the cons, again, are just the higher customer acquisition costs. So because you're paying for it in actual dollars and not just your time, I think oftentimes it's just that it's more easy to see. You can actually see what's going out in terms of the cost. And so you'll be able to see that higher cost there. Some of the organic channels, they're a little bit more leveraged because you can make one post with the right partner and that can generate a ton of users. But oftentimes you run into those issues of scaling like we talked about. And then the other con with paid is obviously just the cost and the budgets that you may or may not have associated with it. And so that's going to be the con for figuring out how you're going to apply these different channels as you try to put together your plan.
So understanding key strategies of organic marketing for mobile apps. So there's a lot of different variations of leveraging leveraging organic marketing for your app. Just to kind of break them apart, and then we're going to group them together in a few pillars in which we'll tackle each individually. Content and social media marketing. That could be blogging, guest posts, social media content, engagement, UGC, right? There's a lot of different forms of this organic content across socials. What platform are you going to pick? What type of content are you making? What's the messaging? Who's your audience, right? What exact platform are you using? You need to be taking more of a LinkedIn approach, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, right? A lot of things to think about. Same thing goes with blogging and building a web presence. App Store optimization. So that's a little bit like SEO, except specifically for App Store listings, right? You want to make sure you're optimizing your keywords for search. Just as Patrick was talking about with the fitness app example, there's a lot of different variations that can go into a category like fitness, right? Your app could allow you to track your weightlifting, right? It could allow you to track your meals, your steps on the daily that connects to your Apple Watch. If there's that many features, you're going to need to optimize for what you're seeing work in the market. So there's ways of doing competitor research, which we'll dive a little bit in more depth in our following modules when we dive into ASO. But there's ways of seeing what is performing best, and then also making sure you have the right visuals and reviews on there to make sure that when they do find you organically, that they actually are clicking that install button and becoming a user and hopefully a long-term user for your app. Community building. So building online communities and hosting offline events. Again, this really does depend on your niche, the type of people that you're looking to get in front of. It's very helpful to bring people together that are all in the same kind of niche or group or interest-based, finding ways to provide value to those people. Community building is a big one, especially these days. There's online communities popping up everywhere, all over the place. Facebook groups, forums on Reddit, right? School, where you're watching this video. And then also, don't forget about offline events. In-person events are huge. Really depending on who your app is for. Some of you out there are running a B2C app that could be for a really wide market, but it doesn't mean you can't go out and network, form a partnership, find people that it makes sense to have these kind of discussions with, and it could pay off for you in the long run. Influencer collaborations, micro-influencers, reviews and testimonials, even larger influencers can be very, very helpful. Again, some of this does go back to budget. You can come up with some kind of affiliate marketing model, pitch it to some of these micro-influencers. A lot of them are looking for some kind of upfront payment, some of them smaller than others. It can be a little bit easier to negotiate, but this is actually key for UGC content. Unless you are a founder that likes to make your own video content, I would highly recommend leveraging micro-influencers and UGC content to help with your reviews and testimonials. Search engine optimization, we'll tackle that with SEO. So essentially on-page SEO, backlinks, deep linking, adding new blogs and articles onto your site, certain keywords, using competitor research tools that we'll talk about a little bit more to make sure that people can actually find your website when they are searching for a specific app or interest relevant keyword so that you pop up and they go and explore your site. Email marketing, newsletters, and personalizing for a specific audience. So there are ways of gathering information from your users during your user onboarding flow to figure out how to tailor the app specifically for them. Not only the app, but also value that you're providing them via your email and newsletters. I'll be providing more examples on different email softwares you can use and also different ways you can format these email newsletters, drip sequences, everything that goes into nurturing your user base as well. Referral programs. So incentivizing your users, ease of sharing. Again, this goes back to the user experience, making sure that you have the right onboarding flow that prompts the user to share with a friend, finding ways to gamify the app, right? Giving them rewards, giving them points, finding ways to give them a reason to share the app or do a specific thing, maybe leaving a review so that they can benefit from it as well. Whether it's getting points that they can redeem for a prize, whatever that looks like to you, depending on your app, it's definitely something to start brainstorming in the early stages. Public relations. Again, sometimes this can cost money, but there are some ways around it where you can kind of get out there on a lower budget as well, which we'll dive into. That includes press releases. So if you're trying to get on TechCrunch, Yahoo Finance, Business Insider, whatever it is that makes sense for your specific industry, that's super big, especially for pre-launch campaigns, generating some buzz on your app and getting some media coverage. Collaborations and partnerships, so different cross promotions and joint ventures, right? So who are some people that serve your same market that maybe do something just a little bit different that you can collaborate on to mutually benefit off the partnership? Definitely some things to start thinking about. That kind of goes back to our offline events and online networking, finding people that share those same audiences and find ways where you can provide value to each other. And last but not least, engaging onboarding experience. I touched on this a little bit with the referral programs. So having good tutorials in the beginning stages of the app to improve retention. So as we talk about organic marketing, a lot of that is focused on finding new users without, paying a lot of money. But as I mentioned before, it's just as important to find ways to retain users, right? For the long term. It's just common sense marketing 101 that you want to be able to keep and retain your users while also bringing new ones in the door so you can actually grow and you're not taking, 3 steps back. Finding ways to personalize the app to the user. After they go through, they give you a little bit of information about what they're looking for so you can tailor the app experience to them, tailor the messaging to them, and just gather data and be able to give your users the best experience possible. So bringing us to our next slide, the 3 pillars of organic. So we're kind of going to group some of these together that I've talked about today. Yeah, so all 3 of these essentially do work together, all hand in hand to set the foundation for your app growth. For example, if you're launching your social media content strategy and people are starting to funnel onto your app, you have a link on there that directs them to either the App Store link or the Google Play Store, then obviously you want to make sure that you have your App Store listing in shipshape, you have the right keywords on there, you have the right call to actions, your screenshots are aesthetic, right? And they have the right value propositions and benefits of the app on there so that it's a no-brainer for someone to download your app and essentially use it for the long term. This can inform your social media strategy, right? Within your screenshots, if you're testing out a certain set of screenshots and you have certain call to actions on there that seem to be converting at a higher level based or compared to another split test you did with different call to actions, then you'll know exactly what type of content to be putting out and focusing on in your social media strategy. More so on the product side, right? Once they actually get into your funnel with the referrals and the word of mouth, that's where they go through the user onboarding flow. You want to make sure you have a strong value proposition to actually incentivize them to refer the app to other people that it could help. You want the users to help you help more people. And the best way to do that is offering some kind of gamification within the app. Maybe it's a point system. Maybe it's a specific program that they're joining, a rewards program where they can redeem points. Whatever that looks like, that is always a great thing to start with. As you're building out and ideating on improving whether it's your MVP or maybe your apps are already further along, maybe it's something you need to add, right? So definitely something to ideate on as you engage with this organic strategy. Same thing goes with partnerships and user experiences, right? You want to make sure that you're forming the right partnerships so that when you are forming a partnership with another similar business with a similar market and they're sending people your way, that they have something great to look at, both on the social media, the website, the App Store listing, and into the actual product when they do get there and they don't immediately delete because it's not for them or it's not what they expected or whatever that reason could be.
Would you say there's some apps that are maybe better set up like for partnerships? Like I know some of our clients, it's a no-brainer to do like a partnership or some of these things. I think any business can figure out a way to apply this, but obviously certain apps and certain types of products are a better fit for that kind of viral like incentive / like partnership type thing. But would you have any insights that you could give people on like how to think about each of these and whether or not it's a good fit for their app, or which like ASO is something everyone should be doing, for example, and like what level like of content, how does that come into play?
I do think everyone should be doing ASO. There are apps that it can be a lot more difficult to essentially get to the top of the rankings. Back, let's say 10, 15 years ago, it was not nearly as difficult as it is today to get to the top or to the first page or second page of the App Store. Now it's extremely competitive, And so there's a lot of things that factor into this, which I'll go over here soon. But, for example, your ratings and reviews, keywords you have, what's relevant in today's market. There's a lot of things that go into that. And so keeping in mind the current landscape of what people are searching for and also keeping your App Store listing up to date is crucial. No matter if you're a brand new app or you have 1 million users, you want to keep that updated with, as you have new product releases, as the market changes, whatever that looks like, make sure you're staying fresh and up to date there.
One thing I know we talk to a lot of clients about, and you've talked to clients about, is depending on your particular app, it may be something that people are definitely searching for. Like there's certain products where there's certain things where the first thing someone does is go, oh, maybe there's an app for that. Maybe there's an app to help me track my journey on this fitness challenge. It's like something where you think there's probably an app for. If that's the case, you being the top of the App Store rankings and having your app up there, that could be a big driver of revenue and installs at the early stage for you. Obviously, to scale, you'll probably want to add paid in those other channels, but capturing that amount of search volume that's coming in organically, that could be a huge boost to your early stage growth. Whereas there's other things, we've got a new client right now. It's a great client, but their product is a little bit more niche and specific. And I don't think it's something that, people are necessarily going to search for because the market they're targeting is a little bit older. They're looking to downsize and track that process. They may not be in the frame of mind of thinking, oh, maybe there's an app for that. In that case, there's probably less search volume. And I think there is. And so, paid or something else that's going to get you in front of people who have the problem but don't know to go look for a solution, that would be a better fit for them and just like a way to think about those different channels.
Talk content and how to use it effectively. So simplifying your path to success, getting started with organic social media for your app. So we've broken it down very simply here, and it's going to start with achieving success. As you can see, this app founder on the right here with his fist in the air just so happens to be a successful app founder. So remember success when starting your organic content marketing strategy. strategy. Let's start with S, selecting the right platforms, right? Understanding your audience, creating a strategic plan, crafting an engaging content plan, engaging consistently, scheduling and optimizing posting, and staying updated and adapt. So we're going to handle these one by one. First is going to be selecting the right platforms. So identifying your platforms. Who is your target audience and where are they the most active, right? Are they on Facebook? Are they on Instagram? Are they watching YouTube all the time? Is it a B2B approach and you need to be connecting with people on LinkedIn and developing a content strategy around that specific audience, right? There's a lot of different ways you can go about this. Usually I recommend finding one platform that really is going to be where you're going to thrive. Sometimes in the early stages, you have to do a little bit of testing to figure that out. Maybe start by picking 3, maybe even 2 that you just want to focus on. Go all in on those until you see maybe one just performing so much better than the others, and then really just go all in on that one platform and make sure you can get that right. So go wide before you go big. I think that's the saying. Is that correct, Patrick? Is it go wide before you go narrow, or what's the saying there?
I think that's the saying.
We think that's the saying, so let's go with that. You guys get what I mean. So platform strengths, so different platforms for different types of content. So that could be Instagram, right? Leveraging Instagram Reels, same thing with TikTok, leveraging video content. And then we got things like Twitter and LinkedIn, where you can leverage text, articles, different long form pieces of content that you can repurpose from your video content. You're going to see very early on where your audience is and where they are most engaging with your content. So for an example, we like the fitness app around here. So if you're watching this, you have a fitness app, you're in luck. You're going to be growing your app very quickly with all these examples we're giving you. So your target audience is active on Instagram and YouTube. By focusing your efforts on those platforms, you can engage more effectively with your audience, right? So if you're a fitness app owner and you see that, maybe your audience is all over Instagram and YouTube, start with those 2 platforms, make a YouTube channel, start creating content, repurpose that content for Instagram, maybe even TikTok, and then you're on your way to building up an audience and really engaging with some potential users. Moving us right along here. So understanding your audience, the demographics of these people, their preferences, their behaviors. What do they do on a daily basis, right? What are they interested in? Where do they hang out? That'll help you understand your audience and really go back to selecting your right platform and developing your messaging for that right audience. So you can tailor that content based on those audience insights. So imagine that you discover that your audience prefers video content over static posts. You can then focus on creating more video content, such as tutorials and behind the scenes footage to meet their preferences. So just as we've touched on in the last module about really the importance of testing and figuring things out as you go, we cannot hammer that home enough. You're not going to have all the answers right away for your organic strategy. The only way to figure it out is to take something I like to call a messy action, right? Make a lot of different types of content, put it out there. You might not get any likes in the beginning. It might not get a lot of traction. Ask your grandmother, ask your mom, ask your friends to, engage with your content in the early stages. But I promise you, if you are consistent with it and you read between the lines and read the data of what's actually working over time, you will be able to optimize your campaigns and slowly build up that audience and funnel users onto your app. Strategy time, creating a strategic plan. So developing a strategy, you want to be able to create goals, a content calendar, different engagement tactics, and set KPIs once you have those basic benchmarks, right? So consider creating a content calendar that outlines what type of content you'll post each day of the week. For example, Monday could be Motivation Monday with inspiring quotes, and Wednesday could be Workout Wednesday with fitness tips. Obviously, this is very baseline, guys. This is social media 101, right? When you're developing a social media strategy, everyone tends to start with these types of tactics. That's fine if you're just getting going, but we do, also encourage thinking outside of the box, asking your potential users what they would like to see. And there's even some tools out there where you can figure out what people in your audience are Googling the most, right? What kind of questions are they asking? That'll help inform your marketing strategy of how to answer those questions, right? Especially, let's say if you're starting like a YouTube channel, there's going to be people that are searching specific types of videos. And if you're there to meet that need, it's really going to help with building up that audience and getting users onto your app. All right, crafting engaging content, making stuff people want to see. This is something that people really forget a lot, right? Is posting things that maybe they want to see and they like talking about, but maybe not their audience and their potential user base, right? So making stuff that people want. Don't overthink it. High quality content, so diverse types. Just as I said about taking messy action and diversifying your content. Static posts, videos, doing stories. I would even recommend putting different polls on the stories. As you get people to vote on those polls on your stories, it's going to drive more engagement for you. Your posts are going to show up at the top of their feed. Your stories are going to show up. That's a little hack that I'll give you right there. We'll dive more into that here in the next modules. And also Instagram Reels. Video is huge, guys. TikTok, Instagram Reels, even on Facebook Reels. Heck, I mean, LinkedIn even has a video feature now. Leverage these tools, guys. The reach on these is just crazy. So make as much video content as you can in the early stages. See what sticks. If you're a founder that doesn't really want to put yourself on camera, you don't have to. You can make different motion graphics. You can hire a UGC creator for $50, $100 to go on there on camera and promote your product. Make sure you give them a good brief and a good script. But besides that, there's a lot of different ways to jump into it. Another example, a fitness app could create a 30-day challenge reel series where you follow along with daily workouts and challenges and share their progress, right? So finding ways to not just create content, but get users to engage with your content and maybe even make their own, tag you, and so their friends see it as well. All right, next we got engage consistently. Talking to your people. So I have this nice little graphic on the left here about a secret handshake. You don't have to get that close with them, but it is good to build that relationship so they can stick around for the long term, tell their friends, ultimately help your audience grow on social media. So consistency, I've hammered this home a few times already, guys, but maintaining consistency. You can have the best strategy, you can have the best few posts in the world, and then you fall off and then it's not going to matter, right? So making sure you get a regular posting schedule and do something that's actually sustainable for you. Don't commit to posting 3 times a day, every day if you don't have the time for it. It's just not going to work out for you. So maintain something that's actually going to be sustainable and make sure you stick to it. Interacting with your audience. So responding to comments, messages, community activities, right? Being in the community, being a face out there or a brand, whichever way you're going to, launch your strategy, making sure you're interacting with that audience and building those relationships. Another example with the fitness app. So if you're a fitness app, you could host a weekly live Q&A sessions to answer user questions and provide tips, building a stronger connection with community. There's a live feature on just about every social media app these days. Go live on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, you name it, you can go live on it. You can even use tools like StreamYard that we're currently using now to film this series to actually go live on all of these platforms simultaneously. So that's huge for building up a brand for yourself and even building up some strategic business connections on LinkedIn if you want to go live there. Patrick, anything to add to this one?
The fundamentals you've covered so far are really important. I think that making something that people want to engage with, just making quality content, a lot of the times it's easy to fall into the trap of, because you're trying to have consistency to just like, hey, I'm going to post something every day. But because of that, you're not posting quality things. It's obviously important to have both, but hitting the fundamentals of engaging with people, making things that other people want to engage with and are quality, and then making sure that you're as consistent as possible with that strategy. Those are like some of the most important pieces and why we're covering them in this kind of overview of the organic channel today.
100%.
Yep. And then engage with them so they feel like it's a real community there, not just like a one-sided relationship. It's always more exciting when they're seeing you engage with them and comment back and forth and that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Cool. Schedule and optimize posting. So get organized and plan ahead, people. So determining the best times to post. I'll provide some more information on this in the next module as well. Best times to post. There are, believe it or not, some best times depending on your audience, specific platforms where the algorithm could favor you and get you in front of more people. Adjusting frequency so basically playing around with when you're posting, how often you're posting over the long term. Test different things, guys. Don't get stuck in one method. Give it enough time, maybe a week or so to kind of see, 2 weeks maybe, to see, what's actually working in your market. But don't be afraid to pivot if needed and adjust the frequency of your posting and the type of content you're putting out there. So an example, analyze your fitness app posts and get the most engagement and schedule your content accordingly. If posts perform best in the evening, focus your efforts there. So there are some counting variables here, right? So like let's say you're posting the same type of content every day at different times, and that's one way to figure it out. But a lot of times when you're posting at several different times throughout the day, each week, and it's different types of content, you might think, oh, is it the type of content that's performing best, or is it the time I'm posting? If you get to that, try to keep your style of content static based on that specific time period, and you'll be able to have more accurate data to adjust accordingly.
Yeah, no, just on that really quick, like we mentioned earlier, one of the potential downsides of organic, it's a little more challenging to actually track and determine like the effectiveness of different types of content. That said, there's like something like Nick just mentioned that you can do to help make that easier for you by keeping certain things consistent. Maybe you try a certain type of style post for a week or so, or maybe even if you're going to do a lot of different kinds of posts, you review that data on on more of like a monthly basis where you can go back and look at 5 different posts that were UGC style, where you had someone else that you partnered with to create the content, and 5 posts that were maybe like screenshots of the app or something, or highlighting features. If you look at the more of the aggregate data, that's going to tell you, it's going to give you a better idea of actual performance, as opposed to just making one post and saying, oh, that post didn't do well. You're going to need to see more of it, because there's so many other variables like time of day that you're posting and all these different things that are just algorithmically related, as opposed to just the quality of the content. And so doing more of it and then reviewing kind of the aggregate performance, that's one way to get a better idea of what's working and what isn't.
100%. And kind of piggybacking on what Patrick said, we'll actually have some more information diving deeper into the weeds in this next module on specific content frameworks you can follow, types of content, right? Like for example, having different screenshots of your app, different engaging screen recording videos, UGC videos of yourself. There's a lot of different ways you can go about it and things you can test. So we'll make sure to have a little outline for you in our next module to go through that together. So staying up to date with the best performing posts and recent trends, right? We're in an ever-changing landscape with social media here, guys. Things are always changing. Make sure to stay up to date with trends, platform updates. There's a lot of good newsletters that you can subscribe to that'll shoot you the trends of what's going on in today's markets. That could be different, viral social media trends. It could be content that's performing well on ads, organic content. There's a lot of email marketing trends. There's a lot of different things that people are leveraging that are working, that are actually out there for you to mirror within your own business that you don't really realize. So make sure to keep in touch with the market and also with what your competitors are doing so you can actually stay updated and adapt your strategy. So again, based on audience feedback and performance metrics, we've already talked about that. Don't need to dive too much into that. As an example, if a new social media trend emerges, like a popular fitness hashtag, incorporate it into your content to stay relevant and engage with a broader audience. It's another good one, hashtag research. So if your spidey senses are tingling, you think something's going on in the market, something new, there probably is. Stay up to date. We'll send over some new.
Yeah, well, we can send over some good resources for staying up to date on the market and things that are going on, because it is constantly changing, and it's good just to try to stay in tune with that, at least personally, until, eventually you have someone in the business that their full-time job is making sure that they're up to date with it and managing this kind of thing. Because it is a lot of work to maintain and understand, what's going on with the market with this stuff and how the platforms are changing and what the best strategies are. So that's obviously something that we help clients with and we're on top of. But, as you're growing in the early stages, you'll want to keep an eye on it and then eventually have someone else assist you with it.
All right, so back to building your community, gathering your people. So strategies for building your online community. There's a lot of different platforms for this. Like I mentioned before, different forums, Facebook groups, school.com, where this community is, Reddit, and just driving consistent engagement, regular posting, Q&A sessions, polls, community gatherings, bringing people together. People want to engage with other people that have similar interests, right? That's just human nature 101, right? You want to be with people that have similarities to you. So bringing these people together and basically being a source of value for these people. How can you offer value besides just your app outside of that to build a community around it and ultimately have the app be that solution for those people? Same thing with offline events, right? Meetups, workshops, conferences. You can host these types of events, bring together your own people. Obviously, you can use these events for building connections as well, like we talked about, whether it be business partnerships or partnerships for your app, whatever that looks like. Offline events are great for that. Great for building personal connections and obviously brand loyalty. So for example, a fitness app could create a Facebook group where users share their workout progress and tips while hosting monthly local meetups for group workouts. We will have a structure for this for organizing your own group in the next module. So really looking forward to diving into that with you guys. So stay tuned and we are moving on to the next slide. PR strategy. So great for generating that buzz that you're looking for. So a press release. This is kind of the most popular one with mobile apps. So getting in major news articles where your target audience might be reading, right? So announcing a major update, a new feature, a partnership. Maybe it's just the announcement of the app launching, right? There's a lot of different things and stories that you can come up with. As I mentioned before, a lot of times this does cost money if you're looking for a PR agency to get you into one of these articles. But if the story is good enough, there are some ways to getting through the cracks here and essentially getting into one of these articles free of cost because it's a great story. It's a great headline. It'll get a lot of clicks, right? So that's good for the publisher and it's good for you. So start thinking about ways to brainstorm different storylines. Maybe you have a awesome founder story and comeback story and just like everything from the very beginning, up to where you are now, and you can write a great story about that. Maybe it's something else, but start ideating on those storylines that you can do, including your app into the mix. I actually heard a story the other day and it was about a guy that owned a restaurant and he did a lot of yoga, right? Helped him relax. And essentially, he actually got published in a yoga magazine and it helped promote his restaurant, right? Pretty interesting. Really makes you think, what are some other interests you have that you could get some major buzz and also be able to promote your app? Some things to start thinking about there. Obviously with media coverage, so secure features in relevant publications, blogs, or even podcasts. That's a big one these days. It seems like everyone's got a podcast, right? So you have to be kind of picky and choosy about which ones you want to be on. Do some research on who their audience is it someone you resonate with, podcasts you actually want to be on, and then do your best to reach out and compliment them on one of their recent episodes and see if you can come on for a conversation. Little example, so a fitness app could issue a press release announcing a new partnership with a popular fitness influencer, leading to features in fitness magazines and blogs. Great way to generate buzz there. Obviously partnering with a big influencer who has a massive audience. Obviously the influencer would likely repost this to their social media where they have a ton of followers and get you the exposure that you're looking for. All right, so email marketing. So there's a couple of different forms of email marketing here. We're primarily going to focus on warm, but I also wanted to throw in cold just in case you have an app that's applicable for this. So newsletters, that's a popular one. So being able to gather information on your users, what they're looking for within the app during that user onboarding flow. So why they download, what kind of features are they looking for, preferences, so the app is tailored to them. That can also feed your newsletter into what bucket you put them in and what the value is that they need. So for example, if you're the fitness app and you send a weekly newsletter with personalized workout tips, progress tracking, updates based on the user's activity, right? So the workout tips, maybe someone downloaded the app for the workout tips, someone downloaded it for the meal tracking, someone downloaded it to track their steps and share with friends, right? Whatever the features are of your app, make sure you're making note of that during the user onboarding so you can go back and inform your newsletter strategy. Back to the personalization, so tailoring those emails based on user preferences and behaviors. The cold email approach. So this is something that's not for everyone, but if you are in a really, really low budget, you need to find a way to get some partnerships. Maybe you have a B2B app, right? And you need to get in front of some people. This is very popular in the SaaS industry, is taking a cold email approach. We'll touch a little bit on this in the next module, but wanted to at least give you guys an overview here. So essentially a cold email approach is emailing someone basically without their consent, right? So you're reaching out, doing a targeted outreach, identifying the segment of potential users that fall within your market, compelling subject line, so crafting attention-driving subject line so they actually open it, they actually think this is something they want to read. Clear value proposition, so highlighting the benefits and features of your app, why they should download it. Or if you're inquiring about a partnership, making sure you have the right benefit, what's in it for them. It's not about you, it's all about me these days. Make sure you're personalizing it to them. And then the call to action, what do you want them to do? You trying to book a meeting, you want them to download the app, at least visit the website, offer feedback, whatever it is, make sure you're clear in your messaging there. All right, moving right along. Let's talk search and how to use it effectively. So first, we're going to cover ASO versus SEO. Starting with SEO, that's going to be your major search engines, Google search, Bing, Yahoo. Primarily Google is kind of the big one these days. So essentially you want to make sure you're optimized for Google. So on page, that's your title tag, your H1, H2, H3, that's your headlines, your internal links, your page speed, making sure that's up to date, and your topic coverage. For things like page speed and your overall SEO ranking, there are tools for that. We'll be covering that in the next module when we cover ASO and SEO. On to off page. So that's going to be your links, your anchor text, and your social signals, making sure that is all clean and ready to go. Sometimes if you have little breaks in there or things not functioning properly, that can actually hurt your SEO and your organic traffic. So you want to make sure that that is actually optimized and at top peak performance. Traffic. So that's your main goal there, is getting visitors to your website. When it comes to App Store optimization, on the flip side, believe it or not, that's going to be for your App Store listing or your Google Play listing. So on page, these elements are going to include your app name, your description, your keywords, your usage and quality metrics, and then also your uninstall rate. So making sure people are retaining onto your app, not installing and immediately deleting. That can actually hurt your ASO if you did not know. Off page, that's going to be your backlinks, ratings and reviews, and download stats. So your ultimate goal here is going to be driving new app downloads, right? You want to get traffic onto your App Store listing. They can find you organically. They can find you through paid ads, right? If they're finding you organically, it's probably going to be through the proper keyword search, right? Keywords in your metadata, good ratings and reviews. You have a high user count, so there's a good chance they'll find you organically. And then there's the paid ad side of things, or just an off-site click from your social media or LinkedIn or whatever, where they're coming to your App Store listing and downloading based on a third-party source. Once they're getting to that App Store listing, right, then it's going to be your description. It's going to be the call to actions and the way that your creative looks, which is going to be your screenshots and your app icon, making sure that the user knows that this is for them and they know why it's for them, right? And how can this benefit them? That's what's going to make them install. So you want to make sure you're measuring your conversion rate. How many people are you getting to show up on your App Store listing and who is converting? so you can adjust accordingly. So diving into that a little bit more. So keywords, super important, using relevant and high traffic keywords in the app title, description, and metadata. Visuals, designing high quality app icons, screenshots, and videos. If you stink at video editing or you stink at graphic design, there's plenty of designers out there that can help design your screenshots. Ratings and reviews, so encouraging positive reviews and ratings, making sure to have that optimized within your apps to prompt users to leave a review or a rating to help you guys grow. And then your category ranking, make sure you've selected the right category that your app falls within so they can find you there. Additional tips, so A/B testing is huge. Running split tests, testing different app icons, screenshots, and descriptions to see which performs better. And then localization, if you are gearing up for a global launch or you're an app that's already launched globally, you want to make sure that your app store listing is optimized for different languages and regions. If your app is in Japanese and you are in the United States only, then it's not going to do you very good, right? Maybe there might be a few Japanese speakers that will see it and download, but ultimately, in the grand scheme of things, you want to make sure that the language lines up to the country where you are launched. Moving right along, search engine optimization. This is important if you have a website for your app, which we highly recommend to serve as a landing page. It can actually demonstrate a lot more key benefits and features of your app, give users more of an experience to see what your app is and how it can benefit them. This is also a good strategy for your social media, using this as basically a filter for any people that would go to your app store listing and not immediately download. Usually when people go to your app store listing, you have more time to, in quotes, sell them on it, right? So basically make sure they know what this is, what it does, why it benefits me, and why I should download. Videos help on your website, and also making sure you have all the right screenshots and video recordings on there to show what this app is. So again, keywords, content quality, backlinks, technical SEO, making sure you have fast load times, making sure you're creating valuable and relevant and regularly updated content. And as you can see all the examples here, make sure you're publishing blogs, collaborating with fitness bloggers, and optimizing images. Some additional tips. So user experience, improving website navigation and user experiences to reduce bounce rates. I recommend hiring a UX specialist, maybe even a UI specialist, as I mentioned, if you aren't very good with design. UI stands for user interface, and as you can see, UX stands for user experience. I'm sure you're familiar with those terms, as I'm sure you've hired someone to design and develop your mobile app. So it's extremely important to know the difference between these two terms so you can actually optimize your app, improve the UI UX as you get user feedback from your marketing and from the users that come onto your app, so you can constantly improve. All right, let's talk referrals and the power of word of mouth. So let's dive into a quick overview of strategies for organic growth, referrals, incentives, programs, partnerships, and user experiences. First, referrals, leveraging your user base to attract new users, right? As your users come onto the app, we want to incentivize them through some kind of gamification, through some kind of reward system, point system, to encourage them to refer your app to a friend, right? Help someone else. Help you help them, right? That's the whole messaging you want to have here. You want to make sure that your users are going out and getting you more users, whether it be through a prompted referral through the app, or your app might be so good that they're automatically going to go tell a friend, tell their mom, tell whoever about the app. Incentives, so offering rewards to encourage specific action. As we just mentioned, we don't need to dive too much into that. Programs, creating structured initiatives for each engagement. Partnerships, collaborating with other businesses or influencers, as we've talked about it. And then also user experiences, enhancing the overall app experience to drive retention and referrals. So for user referrals and incentives, we want to encourage engagement and referrals with incentives. Some key elements there are going to be referral programs. So implementing a structured program to encourage user referrals. We've just talked about this. We also want to give them a clear way to send the referral. Maybe it's a hyperlink that automatically takes them to their iMessage with a message already typed out saying, hey, have you tried this fitness app? It helped me so-and-so, or can help you do this. Check it out, link attached. Super easy. They click one button and then they click send. It's already to their friend and they gain a point on the app, right? Whatever that reward is, that's for you to decide depending on the industry that your app is in and who you're serving and what your app does. Ease of sharing, as we just mentioned, make it simple. Incentives, offer rewards for both referrals and new users. So making sure new users come on board also have something in it for them. Maybe it's 50% off the subscription or whatever it is. Maybe it's no ads. However you monetize your app, figure out a way to offer something appealing for the new user and welcome them with open arms. So an example, a fitness app can offer a free premium for a month for both the refer and the new user when a friend signs up using your unique referral link. You can also use AppsFlyer. It's a mobile measurement partner. It actually has something called OneLink installed with it. You can actually use OneLink on its own as well. But essentially what this does is it sends the user to the respective app store based on the phone they have, if they have iOS or Android. It also helps you measure the data. You can see the amount of clicks based on that unique link, and you can make a limit of those so you can track if you have an affiliate model or if you're doing referrals, whatever that looks like. OneLink is great for that. Again, you can find that online. Just Google One Link, or you can find that if you have AppsFlyer for your attribution platform, you can leverage that as well. Types of incentives, that could be a discount, a free trial, in-app currency, like those rewards or points we were talking about, and also exclusive content. Maybe they can unlock more features of the app by doing that. Whatever your model is, make sure you have that clear in your messaging for the users so they know exactly what they're getting it and when they're getting it. Targeted incentives, so tailoring rewards to user actions, completing a workout challenge, maybe it's completing 5 in a row, doing something in a day. So a lot of different ways you can do this. We might have to make a whole nother section on gamification because there's a lot that goes into that. You can learn a lot from some of those gaming apps out there. They're really good at these. Tracking and adjusting, so monitoring effectiveness and tweaking incentives. Again, just as we're talking about with content, you need to test out different things. Monitor what's working, get feedback from your users, right? Build those relationships, and then tweak incentives to actually give the people what they want. So another example here could be a fitness app that offers a discount on premium memberships for users who complete a 30-day workout challenge. So here's a quick example here of how the UX of this would work. Kind of as I mentioned before, you click a quick button, it automatically sends, types out the iMessage to a friend, sends it to them, prompts them to download, and then boom, they have a free stock waiting for them with Robinhood. Simple as that. Depending on what your app is, you can obviously tailor this and what makes sense for you. This is a great thing to send to your developer or your UX designer so you can actually implement this into your app for yourself. All right, so programs, building engagement with programs. Some key elements would be loyalty programs, rewarding long-term users with points or benefits, gamification, like we talked about in the last slide, engagement programs, regular challenges, contests, and events. Keep it interesting. If you have a user base that uses the app, let's say every day for a specific task, maybe it's a workout, whatever it is, make sure you keep it interesting with different challenges. Have banners that pop up, keep it up to date and simultaneous with your social media and your blog or whatever you're using, your newsletter, and make sure people are constantly informed with these new contests and events. Onboarding programs, so make sure you smoothly integrate new users with tutorials and guides. They're new, they're fresh, they don't know what this is, they're excited about it, they downloaded it for a reason, they kind of forgot why. What is this? How do they use it? And what's the long-term strategy for keeping them on board, right? So make sure you hold their hand throughout the user onboarding progress, have some kind of, in quotes, program for them to go through. For a tutorial, obviously they can skip it. They already know what the heck is up here, but make sure you have something like that in place as you start growing your app. An example here, a fitness app could create a loyalty program where users earn points for workouts completed, redeemable for discounts on premium features, right? If you have a freemium model or you have premium things that they can unlock, leverage that for your rewards program. Partnerships, so we talked about this a little bit already, so expanding reach with partnerships, business partnerships, collaborating with complementary businesses for cross-promotion. I'm gonna go ahead and dive into this example real quick. A fitness app could partner with a health food brand for mutual promotions, offering discounts on subscriptions with product purchases, right? That makes perfect sense, right? Health food, you're targeting people that are healthy with the fitness app. It's like peanut butter and jelly, right? I mean, maybe we can think of it healthier. It's like protein powder and water, right? It goes together. For me personally, I'm more of a protein powder and milk guy. Besides the point, it goes together. It works, right? Keep that in mind when you're trying to figure out your business partnerships. What works? How can you help each other? What would make the most sense for long-term growth? Influencer partnerships. This is extremely important and very common in today's mobile app marketing landscape. I'd say almost every app that I've ever worked with has had some kind of influencer partnership or UGC partnership, whatever that looks like. People trust people. We leverage a lot of static images on the organic side, on the paid side, but it's always going to come back to doubling down on the messaging that works and the audiences that are working with video content from real people, right? So having influencer partnerships is huge. If you can find someone that already has like 1,000 people, 10,000 people, more the better, 1 million people that has your exact target market, then boom, go into that, try to incentivize them with some kind of affiliate program. If you have a little bit of budget, obviously there might be some monetary discussions involved, but try to form those influencer partnerships, even micro influencers in a specific area, or if they have smaller followings. There's a lot of people out there that are looking for opportunities like this to promote a brand that they feel very strongly about and favor to help their audience do the same. Strategic alliances, for forming strategic alliances with industry leaders, that kind of goes in line with business partnerships. This could be more so from an industry person. For example, if you have a real estate app and you want to partner with a real estate agent, makes sense, right? You want to be able to incentivize them for their network as well. User experiences. So some key elements here for enhancing user experiences for retention. Intuitive design. So ensuring a seamless and user-friendly interface. Product is king. It needs to be a good product no matter how good your marketing is. If you're getting, thousands, millions of people onto your app, but your app just isn't good, it doesn't solve a specific problem. Even if it's an MVP and your UI isn't great yet, but it solves that problem and they still not like it, there is a big problem here. So making sure you have intuitive design, something that provides value and that the user can easily get from one screen to the next and eliminate any of those bugs in there. People just don't like that. And, if you're anything like me, like I just don't put up with that. Like if I'm working with an app that has all these bugs and everything, I'm going to delete it, right? And so is 99% of the people out there. Personalization, tailoring the app experience based on user preferences and behavior, and different feedback mechanisms. So implementing ways for users to provide feedback and suggestions. This is huge, guys. Being able to gather information from your users on what they like, what they don't like, and offering suggestions is going to be big for not just your marketing, but your product as well. Try your hardest to leverage your email marketing, to leverage your ratings and reviews prompting system, your social media, your inner circle, your friends and family, whoever falls within your market that's using the app. Make sure you have proper ways to, and feedback mechanisms to gather this feedback and continue to improve your marketing and your product. So for example, a fitness app could offer personalized workout plans based on user goals and progress with regular updates and feedback prompts, right? So how is this working for you? Are you liking this? Different pop-ups that can come up where you can say, hey, mind leaving us a quick 3-second or 3-word description of how you've liked this so far, right? There's a lot of different ways you can go about this. We'll dive into this in our future modules as well. All right, guys. So basically, as we dive into these next modules, we'll be covering content, social media, communities, PR, and email. Way more tangible examples and different outlines that you can use to leverage and plug into your own mobile app business. Same thing for search, different ASO recommendations also for SEO, how you can best leverage these to drive your organic results for people searching for this type of app and ultimately convert those into long-term users. Last but not least, referrals and word of mouth. So we'll be diving into different incentive options, programs, partnerships, and user experiences, some different tips and tricks to actually apply these with more tangible examples for your own mobile app business. So that wraps up today's organic marketing module. Thank you guys so much for joining us today, and we'll see you in the next training.